everyone, Jackie here from the DIY Village, bringing you another DIY video tutorial on behalf of Homes.com. In case you haven't figured out what today's topic is, we're going to be talking about how to make over a folding chair. This beauty was inherited to me from my grandparents circa the 1990s. It's a beautiful gray mauve with the country blue and mint touches on the upholstery. Not really our style at all, so we thought it would be fun to give these chairs a little bit of an update so when we have company for, say, Jocelyn's birthday, our daughter, that we can have plenty of room for everybody to sit and it reflects our home style. Before we get started, we're going to go over a few of the tools that you're going to need for this project. To make things go smoothly, it's best if you go ahead and get everything ahead of time. You will really appreciate this in the long run. We're going to start off by going over the staple gun. This is going to be your ally in this project. A nice heavy-duty staple gun, and we have some 1/4" 6mm staples. For this particular chair, we took one apart already, and we do know that a 1/8" staple is necessary. In my experience of recovering chairs and tables like this, a 1/8" staple is standard. Trying to find a 1/8" staple and then a gun that will take that staple is nearly impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you some ways to get around that so that when your guests sit down, if you don't have a nice cushy padded chair like this one is, that they don't get a nail in their tush, because I don't think anybody will want to come back to your house. If it's someone that you're not wanting to, good option, but for the most part, if you're having guests over, you probably want them to come back to visit again. So that's your staple gun. You're also going to need a pair of needle nose pliers for maybe some staples that need to be removed that are a little tricky. You're going to need a Phillips or flathead screwdriver depending on how your cushions are attached to your frame. Most of these folding chairs don't have a back cushion like this, they just have the base, so make sure you have enough fabric for both, actually all 4 of your chairs if you have 4 chairs. And if you don't want to have matching fabric on all your chairs, just make sure they coordinate. That would be a nice fun look for the shabby chic folks out there. You're also going to need a hammer. The hammer will come in handy when you push the nails in and they don't, or the staples in and they don't go all the way in the wood. It's pretty common for when you're doing something like this because it's got a nice rounded edge because of the cushioning, that sometimes they don't go all the way in. Just a little bit of hammering with a hammer will just give it that little push to go all the way in. Also, to help with the staple issue, you're going to want to make sure to have some cardboard. I've gone ahead and cut some cardboard into strips long enough to work on each sides of my chair. We'll go over that more when I'm doing the upholstery. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get started and go ahead and take these cushions off using my Phillips screwdriver, and then once I get those off, we're going to go over what to do next.
With the pads removed, we wanted to go ahead and give the frame an update as well, so we gave it a quick coat of spray paint.
Okay, now that our chair frame is set aside to dry, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about covering the cushions. I went ahead and cut my fabric 3 inches wider than the base of my cushion. This will allow for the wrapping and the curve and all the nice padding that's on this particular cushion. If you have a fabric like I do that has words on it that kind of go in a linear pattern or vertical, you want to make sure that it lines up nicely before you go ahead and give it a cut. Also on my pattern there's this little medallion that I want to make sure is on every cushion of my chairs, so I went ahead and lined it up on there before I get started on that. So go ahead and flip it over. We're going to go ahead and start in the middle. Now if you recall earlier I talked to you about the cardboard, and this would be the point that if you need cardboard to go ahead and use it, we aren't going to need cardboard with this particular application, but what you would do is you would take the piece of cardboard, put it right here, and then wrap your fabric over it, and then you would staple through the cardboard. That extra cardboard will probably give you the depth that you need to keep the staple from coming through the other side when someone sits down. You may need a couple layers of cardboard, but it's a really good trick to use if you're needing to add depth to keep people from getting hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. This is the back of my seat, so I'll get to the very center. I'm just going to give a little light pull on it, take my staple gun, and give it a staple. I'm going to do 2 staples, 1 on each side of that center staple. Okay, I'm going to turn my cushion around, and then I'm going to start on the other side. I'm going to go to the center as well. Staple. And as you can see, my staples, that one didn't go in at all, but my staples aren't going all the way in. These first few are kind of the hardest because you have to hold the fabric pretty taut. Okay, and before I go any further, I'm going to flip my cushion over and check and make sure I've got it nice and tight. As you can see, the center's nice and tight. But I don't want to go any further on these sides. I want to go ahead and see if I can get my outer edges, the left and right sides of my cushion, started. The reason that you don't do one side and then do another, you want to make sure that it's even, and if you don't do it the way I'm doing it, you may end up with some puckering that you can't fix. Well, you can fix it by removing all the staples and starting over again. So we'll go ahead and get that staple in. Let me do one on each side of it. Flip it. Do another staple. If you have another set of hands, it's very helpful at this point because they can hold the cushion down so that when you put pressure on the staple gun, the cushion doesn't flip up. Most people aren't going to have cushions with this much padding, but a second set of hands would be extremely helpful in this application. Okay, so I'm going to go back to where I was. Looks like another one of my staples came out. We'll get that fixed. We'll get that back in there. There we go. And I'm just going to work my way along the sides until I have all my staples in. Periodically I'll flip it over and make sure I don't have any puckering that I need to correct. But at this point I'm just going to go ahead and get these put in there. Okay, looks like I'm nice and smooth on that. And I've worked myself to my corners. So now we're going to work on a corner. There's a few different ways to do this. I like a simple way. Basically, you take the corner, you pleat it like this. I'm not sure what the technical term is for it. And then you take, and you fold it back on itself, just like that. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I've created a nice corner. And I'm going to go ahead and try and get a really good staple in this. Let's see. And when I do the corners, I like to put a lot of staples because that seems to be where my where my fabric, if it's going to come loose, it's going to come loose at the corner. Before I go any further with the corners, I think I'm going to go ahead and take my hammer and go ahead and staple the rest of my nails down. And then I'll do my corners, and then we'll come back and talk about putting the cushion back on the chair.
As you can see, we've gone ahead and given our chair a chance to cure. The paint is dry. I went with a nice complementing color that matches the medallion in the fabric on the cushion. I went ahead and inserted the base cushion into the chair. It was pretty easy. This particular one snaps in, no screws involved, whereas the back cushion, there's screws that hold it on. But I wanted to show you real quickly, I did cover this the same way that I covered the base cushion. I started at the top and the bottom, worked my way around, and kept pulling tight as I went along. I didn't end up with any puckering. It turned out really smooth, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and install this, and we will be done. I'm also checking to make sure I don't have any threads hanging down, because once I get this on, I really don't want to be bothered with having to take it off and make any kind of fixes to something simple like that. Okay, just like that, it's tightened down, and we are good to go. This is our completed chair makeover. This project was fairly simple, fairly inexpensive. For all 4 chairs, I spent around $40. That is a drop in the bucket compared to the price that I'm going to pay if I would have bought all new chairs. Plus, I couldn't have got them in the colors and the fabrics that I like. There's some great ones out there on the market, but they're just not really what I was looking for. This was the perfect solution for me. Once again, I'm Jackie, and on behalf of the DIY Village and Homes.com, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll be on the lookout for our next DIY video tutorial.
Jackie here from the DIY Village, bringing you another DIY video tutorial on behalf of Homes.com. In case you haven't figured out what today's topic is, we're going to be talking about how to make over a folding chair. This beauty was inherited to me from my grandparents circa the 1990s. It's a beautiful gray mauve with the country blue and mint touches on the upholstery. Not really our style at all, so we thought it would be fun to give these chairs a little bit of an update so when we have company, for say Jocelyn's birthday, our daughter, that we can have plenty of room for everybody to sit and it reflects our home style. Before we get started, we're going to go over a few of the tools that you're going to need for this project. To make things go smoothly, it's best that you go ahead and get everything ahead of time. You will really appreciate this in the long run. We're going to start off by going over the staple gun. This is going to be your ally in this project. A nice heavy-duty staple gun, and we have some 1/4 inch 6mm